Wow. It is true when they say the second time is definitely the charm.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a second installment that just has come out this weekend. It came out this weekend. And it's a new Marvel film, not one in the MCU, guys. It's a standalone, non-MCU Marvel film. And it's their second theatrically released animated film, and it's technically a Part 1 sequel. One of those sequels. And one I was long excited for. And that film is going to be for none other than this weekend's the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, originally supposed to come out last year in October 2022, but got pushed to June instead. But what's the plot? Well, Miles Morales returns for the next chapter of the Oscar-winning Spider-Verse saga, an epic adventure that will transport Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood Spider-Man across the multiverse to join forces with Gwen Stacy and a new team of Spider people that face off with a villain more powerful than anything they have ever encountered. So yeah. So how was this made? Well, by the end of November 2018, ahead of the release of Into the Spider-Verse the following month, Sony Animation had already begun development on a sequel to the film. Due to the incredible buzz surrounding the project, the sequel is set to continue the story of Shamik Moore's Miles Morales, working from seeds that were planted throughout the first film. And Joaquim Dos Santos and David Callahan were set to direct and write the film, respectively, with Amy Pascal returning from the first film as producer. And the other producers of the first film, Lord, Miller, Arad, and Steinberg, were also expected to return for the sequel in some capacity. The next month, Pascal revealed that the film would focus on Miles and Haley Steinfeld's Gwen Stacy, exploring a romance between the two characters that had been cut from the first film. She added the sequel would serve as a launching pad for the previously animated female-focused spin-off film starring Steinfeld. And Sony officially confirmed the sequel in November 2019, setting a release date for April 8th, 2022. And Lord and Miller were confirmed to be returning as producers. When making changes to its film schedule in April 2020 due to the pandemic, Sony shifted the film's release to October 7th, 2022. Then in February 2021, Miller revealed that he and Lord were working on the film's screenplay, and Callahan said Peter Ramsey would serve as an executive producer on the sequel after co-directing the first film. That April, Ken Powers and Justin K. Thompson were announced as co-directors of the sequel alongside Dos Santos, with all three having been working on the project since it started development. Thompson had previously served as production designer of the first film. And additionally, Urad and Steinberg were both confirmed to be returning as producers alongside Laura Miller and Pascal, with Alonzo Ruvalcaba co-producing and Adelaide Sood Into the Spider-Verse directors Bob Persesi and Ronnie Rothman, Rebecca Kirch, and Brian Michael Bendis joining Ramsey as executive producers. Then in December, Lord and Miller revealed the film was being split into two parts, which was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 originally and Part 2 originally, because they had written down the story they wanted to tell for the sequel and realized it was too much for a single film, and work on both parts was taking place simultaneously. The two sequels were renamed in April 2022, which was Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse, and the release dates were stupidly shifted then, with Across the Spider-Verse pushed back to June 2nd, 2023, and Lord and Miller revealed that they told Sony the sequel would be the same size as Into the Spider-Verse, but it ended up having the largest crew of any animated film ever, with around 1,000 people working on it. They added that the film had 240 characters and takes place in 6 separate universes. So anyway, after the film has finally been completed, shot, and fully marketed, as we've all seen, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse had its world premiere at the Regency Village Theater around 2 days ago on May 30th, 2023, and has been theatrically released in the United States today on June 2nd, 2023, to critical acclaim once again, delayed from an initial October 2022 release date because of the pandemic. Well, and apparently because they just wanted to work on the film more. But guys, when you're making a movie, people don't take delays seriously anymore because of the pandemic. That's what had me worried for the movie. But we'll get to that part later. And a third film we all know is going to be released next year in 9 months on March 29th, 2024. And of course, the female-focused spin-off film is also in development. Now as for my reaction, well, y'all know the first film, Into the Spider-Verse, was one of those movies that I first thought was, okay, this could be passably enjoyable by the trailers when I saw those. And then the actual movie came out and everyone was like, whoa, that's better than predicted. And then you see the advertisements for the sequel, you're like, I'm pumped for this, I hope it lives up to the first film and the hype. And then the movie comes out, and sometimes you're not as satisfied as you were with the first film. But there's also a rare time when you still are satisfied. This is one of those times. Yes, guys, I went and saw the very first showing at my local IMAX right after my work. And I have to really, because, well, transit area in that area is really bad at night, so I had to pretty much hit the first show right after my work shift. And I have to really say, this movie was very well worth the wait. In fact, honestly, I think I found this to be even better than the first film, and one of the best Marvel films since the 2 Infinity War movies. And easily the second best Spider-Man film behind Spider-Man 2. It's honestly absurd how good these Spider-Verse movies currently are. Like, Into the Spider-Verse was phenomenal, and Across the Spider-Verse is just as great, if not better. I don't know like how Across the Spider-Verse is this fantastic for a sequel to a film that this seemed hard to live up to the hype. Especially considering Lord and Miller's track record with some animated sequels. And it definitely juggles like deeply heartfelt character beats with some good multiverse content, and it was packed with many delightful Easter eggs. And I loved how they expanded Gwen's story here. And her scenes with Shea Wiggum's Captain Stacy are truly special here. Like, I like they did more with her character. We kind of know more about her world and stuff. They did much better with her character here. Really loved that. And something that Spider-Man movies always have benefited from was having multiple plots running stimulously and slowly intertwining with each other. What makes this method of telling a story amazing is that these smaller events merge with a massive situation, creates so much hype and epicencies. And I won't spoil too much here, but it did exactly that. Lived up to the hype. Like, so far, like, this film, for a Part 1 film, was one of the best Spider-Man stories I had ever seen. It was unlike any other told in the comics or movies. Like, it felt fresh, it felt provocative, and it was just bonkers, batshit, balls to the walls, insane. Like, the animation is even more top-notch than the first film. Like, Sony Pictures Animation developed into a powerhouse of stylized animation, and it was already showed in the trailers. If you like the different styles used in the animation of each Spider-Person from other universes, especially with the animation in the first film, you're going to have a field trip with this one. Like, a very wild field trip that just leaves you speechless. Not like the typical school field trips you guys probably took when you were kids, which were just really to nature areas, to educational areas. Not this field trip. This field trip is like, where did we go? Why am I left for words on the place we went? Like that kind of field trip. Just everything works in this movie. The comedy works, the set pieces work, the comedy's like not all over the place and stuff. It's not all forced and stuff. The comedy's equally balanced here. The world building is great. The emotional dramatic moments are perfect. It's like a top tier cinema, like not just animated cinema, but overall just cinema in general. The overall tension, the new characters' personalities and relationships, it's perfect. Absolutely nothing should be changed here. It's all perfect. The voice acting in this movie too, it's perfectly top notch. Like the big standouts for this one were easily Sean McMorris, Miles Morales, who had grown a lot, but he still struggles with his responsibilities as both a young teenager and as New York's one and only Spider-Man. Hallie Steinfeld was the complicated character that's Gwen Stacy, and she gets a lot even better development in this film, which is nice to see. And of course, we have our first portrayal of a movie ever, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, voiced by the phenomenal Oscar Isaac. And easily, this might have to be his best animated role yet. Yeah, much better than those bad animated Addams Family films that I don't like. No, this is his best animated role yet. And I definitely, this is a character who I already want to see more of. More. Here. It was perfect. And you know what's better? There's references for everyone. For those who saw only the movies, or the shows, or the games, or the TV shows, or only read the comics. Once again, this is not a spoiler review, so I'm not jumping into spoilers right away. I want to point out the good qualities here. It carries from the previous, and some which are, improved and amped to the max. When it comes to the story here, the ambition of the story they're trying to tell here literally surpasses any and all expectations. There's definitely some really breaking grounds here, and they're changing the way the Spider-Man universe works, and that's very fantastic work, and I can definitely applaud that. And it's they hope they better carry that on in the next movie we're getting next year. Because, aka the stuff that just left me wanting more, as soon as the credits rolled, even better is how these unique characters and gorgeous worlds play with each other. In the intro, which focuses on Gwen Stacy, we see her world is full of pastel colors with pink and purples and neons that pop. She's faced with a retro version of the Vulture from another multiverse, aka the Renaissance-themed multiverse, and the villain seems to be made all out of paper. Or even the villain of the movie The Spot, who is hilariously played by Jason Schwartzman. Without a doubt, The Spot was a very hilarious villain, and also a threatening villain too. I can tell this guy's gonna be more threatening than the next movie. He seems hilarious, but he's probably gonna actually be a threat that you don't want to screw with in the next movie. I can tell they're gonna do that. Whenever he gets stronger though, his black and white look gets rougher and rawer, and coming through the stunning environments that he finds himself in too. And he's literally already seems like this big threat to Morales. When he's going through all the multiverses and stuff, he pretty much warns him he's going to lose everything in a very threatening voice. And we don't really see him again until the end. Briefly. And of course, not just that, we have a bunch of new universes here too. When we see the new universes here, the ones they introduce here, they're riots. Beyond Gwen's world, we get this trip to Mumbattan to visit Indian Spider-Man, Bhavtir Prakanar, who's voiced by Karen Sani, which is a delight. And heck, his backstory was really hilarious, especially when he calls that he's literally falling for the Chief's daughter, and he pretty much escapes as soon as he hears the Chief coming by him, which was a pretty funny moment here. And also, new character-wise though, MVP also can go to Daniel Kaluuya's Spider-Punk, who is part Basquiat, part Sex Pistols album cover, and all honestly cool anti-establishment swagger here. And Daniel Kaluuya already has proven to be one of the best African-American actors of our generation. Ever since Get Out, his career's kicked off really well. Ever since then, he's had roles in Black Panther. He last year appeared in Nope, which I thought he was one of the best roles, and honestly, I've kind of grown to better appreciate Nope over the months, as I've kind of thought about it. And I thought it was just mediocre, but I'm kind of starting to grow a bit of a soft spot, and I may give it another chance here. And yeah, and this movie, when they say this movie's a middle chapter of a trilogy, it definitely very much feels like a middle chapter of a trilogy. And it doesn't conclude neatly, yeah, that's kind of obvious, but it sets up what that we will see if and how things can be resolved in next year's movie. But if you already want to know how things are going to get resolved the minute this movie ends, you're already left wanting more, and you don't want to wait. And even I don't want to wait. Another one of the standout aspects of this film, it had the ability to strike this delicate balance between paying homage to original stuff, but also expanding the multiverse in unexpected ways. The first movie, we get introduced to this groundbreaking animation style that captured our hearts with its heartfelt storytelling, dynamic characters, and then Hollywood thought, hey, this movie was successful because of that animation. Let's copy it with other movies. They do to everything, and it's stupid. But then Across the Spider-Verse, however, elevates the stakes and explores uncharted territories, and it pushes the boundaries of what would be pretty much anyone to think would be impossible in a genre like this of movies as a whole. And now this animation was even better. Hollywood's gonna be like, hey, this animation's even better. Let's copy that and put it in our movies. The cycle continues. I wonder what they're gonna think for Beyond the Spider. What animation's gonna be for Beyond the Spider-Verse, and if that animation becomes successful, once again, hey, that was successful. Let's copy that. The cycle's never gonna end. Because once again, a lot of animated movies see this certain successful animated movie. They did it with Toy Story and killed 2D animation. They saw Shrek being successful, put somebody pooping fart jokes in their animated movies, and killed animation as a whole. Most animated movies anyways as a whole. And of course now, Into the Spider-Verse is now joining those three in success and trying to copy. Because of course, we all know Hollywood wants the sweet little money. But enough about that stuff. Let's get back to the review. Every scene in this animation movie was as good as perfect. Like the coloring, the animation, the character designs, music, and the way they used the spider humor was so funny and well timed. Like bonding with character wasn't as easy as it is here, but they explore the backgrounds of the different characters so emotional and passionately at the same time. And the animation remains a work of art, with like each frame bursting with energy, intervenous, and meticulous attention to detail, when they kaleidoscopic visuals that bring the various universes to life, to the fluid dynamic action sequences that leave us breathless. Every moment is a testament to the creativity and talent of the filmmakers. And the main cast of Across the Spider-Verse works well into the really overwhelming visual aspect of the movie, especially with subtly beautiful performances. Shemmick Moore really plays Miles Morales as now older, more confident Spider-Man, while still giving the vulnerability of a teenager who's trying to figure out who he is, kind of like what they did with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Steinfeld's also a standout as Gwen. Getting much more to do in the Across the Spider-Verse as we're shown more of her origin story and her relationship with her father, George Stacy, who acts as foil to Miles' dynamic with his parents. And Henry and Velez are also excellent as Jefferson and Rio, working well with Moore trying to bring their family relationship to life here. And I did love... Now, granted, Jefferson and Rio don't have much scenes in this movie because, then again, this is a Part 1 movie, so I didn't expect that we're going to have many scenes here. But, hey, I like their little brief scenes here. Some of their brief scenes anyways. However, the two characters that really shined in this movie were Miles and Gwen. What I loved about the sequel, we actually get to see the relationship grow here ever since the first movie, and if the first film interrogated who gets to be the hero, the second film takes that further to ask how heroism is defined. Why does every hero's arc have to be the same? But why does so much hero mythology lean into the idea that it's only through tragedy that heroism can be born? They explore that all perfectly there, but this was an era where usually superhero movies were the king of summer blockbusters. Well, not really anymore now because superhero fatigue is kind of kicking in, especially with the MCU now. Like, Quantumania bombed at the box office. For example, Shazam! Fury of the Gods sadly bombed at the box office. It should not have. I mean, the problem is, I guess people are just bored of DC at that rate. I don't know how it bombed, but I didn't think Shazam! Fury of the Gods was that bad, as people were making it out to be. But whatever. But Guardians 3 is making money, but that's because I think it's only making money because it's not setting up any MCU multiverse stuff. And it's just its own thing. That's probably the only reason it's even making a decent profit. And because it's actually marketed as the last Guardians movie. But here, this is where writers Lord, Miller, and Callahan, they use animation's freedom to unpack the structure of a world they know and love. And Across the Spider-Verse is definitely another great milestone for animation, because it's gorgeous and it's visually mind-blowing. This sequel really surpasses the first for always putting Miles and his family front and center, and the movie feels like a massive celebration for Spider-Man fans everywhere. Whether you love the movie, then again, whether you love the movies, games, comics, etc. But all the cameos and multiversal elements come second to both Miles and Gwen's story. It's a stunning achievement. And yes, it's visually dazzling. With expansive, expressive new realms, the movie's real superpower is its emotional depth and its beautiful melancholic tone. And there were some cameos that really got my attention here. about 4 of these, some of this was just footage, but 2 of these were definitely cameos, and these cameos were live action characters from other movies in here. Like a first live action cameo where Spot's checking out these multiverses to get his spots back. One of them is the Venom universe, and he actually literally bumps right into Mrs. Chen. And when I saw that part, I was like, oh, is that the Venom universe? No way. I thought they couldn't afford this. How could they afford this? Like, that was just shocking. And another one that also shocked me was we actually see Donald Glover's Aaron Prowler from Spider-Man Homecoming as the Prowler trapped in one of the boxes of all the foes. And just blown away again. We even see this brief arch of footage of Andrew Garfield literally mourning George Stacy from The Amazing Spider-Man during all the scenes of all the loved ones that Spider-Man lost, all the little collections of them. Right there. And of course, you even see this brief little pic of Uncle Ben's death scene from the first Spider-Man Sam Raimi film from 2002. How did this happen? I thought they said they couldn't afford the live action cameos, but I guess they finally were able to. Could this be hinting something that may not happen, but could it be hinting something? Maybe we could be hinting at something for Beyond the Spider-Verse that I may not know of. I don't know, but maybe it's a one-time thing, but maybe they could be hinting at something. Who knows? And moreover, Across the Spider-Verse delves deeper into the characters as we fell in love with in the first film. It allows them to evolve and face new challenges. The emotional depth and growth of the characters resonates with audiences on a profound level, and made us cheer for their triumphs and empathize with their struggles. The film strikes a perfect balance between heartwarming moments, thrilling action, and thought-provoking themes, making it a truly unforgettable cinematic experience. Well, although, be warned though, when audiences go to see this movie, they're going to need to know that this is a part 1 film. It's not going to get, not everything's going to get resolved, guys. So when people go see this film, they're going to need to keep that in mind. That this is technically a part 1, and we're still getting a third one next year. So don't go saying like, why did it end like this? That was not a complete ending. Did you guys not know about Beyond the Spider-Verse is still coming out in March? Just keep that in mind. And equally commendable in its strength of a narrative that really connects with the audience. The story doesn't really seem to unfold. It entangles you in its web. It ensures you are invested in every dramatic interaction, every thrilling fight sequence, and every emotional climax. And character development is another great highlight here. The growth our beloved characters undergo adds layer to depth to the story, and making their journeys all the more engaging. And their interactions, whether action-packed or heartwarming, are captivating and contribute greatly to the film's overall quality. And now when it comes to other characters, we actually do see Peter B. Parker, who doesn't have as big of a role in this one, but I really liked that this whole attempt to resolve with Mary Jane was successful, and they actually had a daughter named May Parker, literally named after his version's Aunt May. And I gotta say, May Parker was actually really adorable, easily in her scenes. And also, even a pretty funny for a baby character. Yeah, and I also really love the whole chase scenes with the Spider-Man and stuff. However, if I did have to have any bad qualities, I guess, well, okay. The movie is 140 minutes long. And honestly, it didn't really feel like 140 minutes long. It felt perfectly paced. So this movie did not really feel that long. But I'm not so sure the runtime is going to sit too well for some fans. Or animation fans at all. But it's not that long, guys. It's not like really that long. It's actually pretty evenly well paced. Heck, it's even better paced than John Wick 4. And also, well, the cliffhanger was a bit of a surprise twist, but I already predicted it was going to end on a cliffhanger long coming because some people were like, they can't believe they ended it like that. And some kids in the theater I saw that were like, why did it end like that? And literally to myself I was like, guys, come on, we're still getting a third movie next year. Was it really shocking it ended like that? Like, I wasn't really shocked. I knew a cliffhanger was going to come because this is a part 1 movie, and we're still getting a third one. So I knew it wasn't really going to end on a happy note. I already knew that going in. But it was definitely an exciting cliffhanger. Not like Infinity War shocker, not like or Infinity War levels of downer cliffhanger. It's actually much more hopeful than Infinity War actually, and it's a nice setup for Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is like 9 months away, thankfully. Although, when it comes to some of the Spider-Man scene at the end, though, some of them are okay. I'm gonna get into spoilers here, guys. Literally, the ones Gwen usually rallies up at the end. This is the only part I'm gonna spoil about the ending. Some of the cameos are Penny Parker, Spider-Man Noir, and Peter Porker, aka Spider-Ham. And it was nice to see them again, but I was wondering, how are they going to get those guys again? I mean, didn't Nicolas Cage say he wasn't going to play Spider-Man Noir again? And didn't even John Mulaney said the same thing, that he wasn't going to play Spider-Ham again or something? But I think maybe that was just Nicolas Cage saying that. Unless they probably recast, or maybe Nick Cage might think about coming back. Maybe he will. I'm sure John Mulaney may come back as Spider-Ham, but because, well, people loved his character as Spider-Ham. That's probably his best role. So I hope he does come back to play Spider-Ham for the third one. And stuff, like maybe they probably might recast Spider-Man Noir as Nick Cage doesn't really seem like he wants to play him again, but I want Nick Cage to play him again. I loved his Spider-Man Noir. That's his best Marvel role. Better Marvel role than Ghost Rider. So I hope Nick Cage changes his mind and decides to come back to do the character like one more time. Same for John Mulaney too. I hope they play their characters for like one last Spider-Man movie, and then their characters can have a good hurrah. But we'll see what happens. So yeah, I honestly think Across the Spider-Verse, to me, the actual best non-MCU Marvel film since Logan, and the best Marvel film in general since Infinity War and Endgame. Everybody can be all like, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the best Marvel film since Endgame. Sorry, but from what I've read, I think Volume 3 already seems overhyped. Like, for one instance, like, all Volume 3 seems to be is apparently Rocket's literally in a coma half the movie, and half the movie is just flashbacks of his past. So it doesn't really seem all that emotionally connectful. Here, like, they thankfully don't do that here, and this movie, Across the Spider-Verse, expands the Spider-Verse in ways we couldn't have imagined, immersing us in a world of boundless imagination and emotional resonance. Like, with its breathtaking animation, complex characters, and masterful storytelling, it stands as a testament to the power and potential of animated films, leaving audiences eagerly awaiting the next installment in this extraordinary franchise. And it better live up to this. So in the end, Across the Spider-Verse is obviously a must-watch and buy for those who loved Into the Spider-Verse and want to see its story continue perfectly. Anyways, that's it for my review of Across the Spider-Verse. Learning how I'm going to rank Across the Spider-Verse, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are a massive fan of Into the Spider-Verse, then don't worry because this sequel is equally good as the first, if not better than the first film, and is definitely a must-watch and buy for any fan of the first film like you are. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Across the Spider-Verse, I'm going to give Across the Spider-Verse an obviously damn great 10 out of 10. There we go. That pretty much wraps up my review for Across the Spider-Verse. And well, I gotta say, for a film that got delayed to 5 years, all thanks to Sony, it actually did not turn out to be the fail I was fearing it was going to be. Because I feared this was going to be another Cloudy 2 or another Lego Movie 2. Two not great Lord and Miller sequels. Thank God. Thank God this ended up being actually great. And of course, next year we'll get to see how Lord and Miller are able to handle a third film, because usually Lord and Miller never really do third entries in their series. Never have. Just second installments and that's it. Like, we never even got to see a proper 23 Jump Street. which sucked. But thankfully, we'll finally get to see them actually do a third film of a film series they've created next year. And if the third film does live up to the hype, maybe this could end up being the best animated trilogy since How to Train a Dragon. Just have to see and find out. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.